Trillion-dollar AI promised infinite intelligence. Physics disagrees. The market bought the promise of weightless scale, but the grid knows the truth. Every token burns what's. The term cloud painted a picture of fluffy, airy abstraction. It conveniently masked the fact that we were building the most energy-intensive infrastructure in human history. Behind the screens, massive server racks hummed in silence. These physical structures housed the complex neural networks that were consuming energy at unprecedented rates. While the servers worked silently, the power plants roared to life. Gigawatts of electricity flowed from coal and gas plants to feed the insatiable digital hunger. Financial markets celebrated the speed of code generation. They ignored the brutal laws of physics that governed the massive energy consumption required to run those algorithms. New data centers were springing up across the globe at a frantic pace. This construction boom represented a fundamental shift from software to hardware as the primary growth engine. Every calculation generates heat, a byproduct that cannot be ignored. The sheer volume of processing power required to generate images and text created a massive thermal burden. The marketing promised infinite scalability without consequences. Reality, however, was proving that every token generated cost a measurable amount of physical energy. Deep in the Mojave Desert, where the sun bleeds the sky orange at dusk, a new kind of frontier unfolds, not gold or oil, but something far more intangible yet just as voracious, gigawatt-scale data centers. These aren't just buildings. They're the nervous system of tomorrow's AI. Sprawling across acres of cracked earth, their hum barely audible over the wind, the race to wire the planet for thought has begun, and no one is prepared for the cost. These facilities aren't popping up by accident. They're the result of a quiet scramble, a global land grab for the most remote, energy-abundant locations. Companies like Google, Microsoft, and Amazon aren't just building data centers. They're constructing entire ecosystems where the air is thin, the water scarce, and the grid barely exists. The desert, once a place of solitude, now pulses with the quiet roar of cooling systems and the distant clatter of construction. But here's the irony. While these campuses are designed to harness the sun and wind, their real hunger is for something far more fragile: water. Evaporative cooling systems guzzle it by the million gallons a day. Draining local reservoirs faster than droughts can replenish them. In Arizona, where lakes have shrunk to cracked mudflats, data centers now compete with farms and households for the last drops of life-giving liquid. The thirst of AI is becoming a crisis. Legacy power grids, built for an era of coal and cars, are blindsided by the sudden surge. Load growth curves haven't spiked like this since the Industrial Revolution, except now, the demand isn't for factories, but for thinking machines. Grid operators scramble to upgrade, but the system is slow, bureaucratic, and ill-equipped for the speed of Silicon Valley. What took decades to build is now being asked to adapt in months. The result? Blackouts, brownouts, and a creaking infrastructure on the brink of collapse. Nowhere is this more evident than in the supply chain, where the backbone of these data centers, transformers, switchgear, and high-voltage cables, are vanishing. Lead times stretch to years, not months. A single transformer, the size of a small bus, can take 18 months to manufacture and ship. Meanwhile, data center operators sign contracts and watch as their timelines slip into the abyss. The result? Delays, cost overruns, and a race against time that no one can win. By the way, if you like this discussion, don't forget to subscribe. There are many more interesting topics coming up. Light bulb. The desert isn't the only place feeling the strain. In the Pacific Northwest, where rain once fell in abundance, data centers now compete with salmon for water rights. In Ireland, where the wind howls across the cliffs, farmers protest the shadow of towering server farms blocking their views and their sunlight. The quiet scramble for land has become a quiet war, pitting progress against preservation, innovation against ecology. The planet is being wired for thought. But at what cost? The numbers are staggering. A single data center the size of a football field can consume as much power as a small city. Multiply that by the hundreds of campuses springing up worldwide, and the math becomes clear. AI isn't just hungry for data, it's starving for energy. The illusion of frictionless intelligence is built on a foundation of physical limits, and those limits are cracking under the weight of progress. The question isn't whether we can build it, it's whether we can afford to. But the real crisis isn't just about power, it's about time. The interconnection queues for new grid capacity stretch for years, freezing the next wave of data center growth in place. Permits take longer than it takes to design the facilities themselves. The system is broken, and without reform, the speed of silicon will outpace the speed of the grid, and that's a recipe for disaster. The race to wire the planet for thought is becoming a race against time itself. In the heart of the American Southwest, a quiet revolution is underway. Companies are signing direct deals with nuclear plants, restarting old reactors, and even investing in small modular reactors, SMRs. Tiny, efficient power plants designed to fuel the next generation of data centers. But this isn't just about energy. It's about control. By owning the grid, these tech giants aren't just powering AI, they're shaping the future, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Yet, for all the innovation at the rack-level liquid cooling, high-voltage DC architecture, the real bottleneck isn't technology. It's permission. The world is building the future faster than governments can regulate it. And as the data centers grow, so do the protests, the lawsuits, and the political battles. The quiet scramble has become a quiet storm, and the first drops of rain are just beginning to fall. The desert isn't just a place, it's a metaphor, a place where the old rules don't apply, where the limits of the past are being stretched to the breaking point. Here, the thirst of AI is laid bare, not as an abstract problem, but as a physical crisis. The water runs low, the grid groans, the supply chain snaps, and yet, the machines keep humming, hungry for more. The question isn't whether we can stop this, it's whether we can survive it. What if the greatest threat to AI isn't the competition between models? What if it's the physical world it's consuming, and the day we realize we've outgrown the planet's capacity to feed its hunger? In the pursuit of efficiency and cost savings, hyperscalers like Google and Amazon are making a strategic pivot, signing direct deals with nuclear power plants and building their own private grids. Microsoft's recent acquisition of a nuclear power plant in 3 Mile Island, Pennsylvania, marks a significant shift in their strategy, as they prepare to deploy small modular reactors, SMRs, across their campuses. The use of power purchase agreements, PPAs, as a financial engineering tool to create a moat against competitors has become a crucial aspect of hyperscaler strategies, allowing them to secure long-term contracts with nuclear power plants. Innovation at the rack level is also key, with hyperscalers exploring liquid cooling, high-voltage DC architecture, and workload migration to follow the sun, allowing them to optimize their energy efficiency and reduce their carbon footprint. As hyperscalers continue to push the boundaries of energy efficiency, they are also driving innovation in the development of new technologies, such as fusion breakthroughs, grid-enhancing technologies, and the democratization of abundant compute. The interconnection queue is the graveyard of AI ambition. Terawatts of generation sit idle waiting for approval. Years stretch into decades for a single grid connection. Physics waits for no bureaucracy. Over 2 terawatts languish in American queues alone. That equals the entire existing U.S. power plant fleet. Solar farms, wind arrays, and batteries remain unbuilt. The bottleneck is not generation. It is interconnection. Even approved projects face a hardware wall. Large power transformers now take 3 years to deliver. High-voltage switchgear lead times stretch similarly. Copper and specialized steel are allocated to the highest bidder. The supply chain cannot feed the beast. Silicon moves at the speed of light. Permitting moves at the speed of law. Environmental reviews demand years of study. NEPA litigation adds decades of delay. The ultimate software patch is legislative reform, not code optimization. Congress debates permitting reform like a critical software update. FERC Order 2023 attempts to clear the backlog. Siting authority remains fragmented across states. A federal fast track for energy corridors remains elusive. The patch notes are still being written. Energy sovereignty has become the new nuclear deterrent. Nations with cheap, firm power attract the next generation of compute. The Middle East builds gigawatt campuses in the desert. Canada leverages hydro for strategic advantage. Geography is destiny again. The race to artificial general intelligence is a race to grid interconnection. Whoever secures the first gigawatt of firm, clean power wins the training run. Microsoft restarts 3 Mile Island for this reason. Amazon buys nuclear-adjacent campuses. Power purchase agreements are the new moat. Hyperscalers now build private transmission lines. They negotiate direct with generators, skipping the public queue. This creates a two-tier energy system. Elite compute gets priority electrons. The public grid shoulders the reliability burden. Inequality hardens into infrastructure. At the National Ignition Facility, fusion ignition achieved net energy gain. Proved physics permits clean abundance. Commercial reactors remain decades away, yet the psychological barrier is broken. Fusion shifts from always 30 years away to an engineering timeline. We do not need only new wires. Grid-enhancing technologies squeeze more from existing steel. Dynamic line ratings use real-time weather. Topology optimization reroutes power instantly. Advanced conductors double capacity on old towers. Software eats hardware bottlenecks. The endgame is not scarcity managed by giants. It is abundance distributed widely. Cheap fusion, enhanced grids, and efficient chips lower the floor. Small labs train frontier models. Developing nations leapfrog legacy grids. The physics of progress finally bends toward democratization. The reckoning arrives not with a bang, but a closed switch. Interconnection queues clear. Permits accelerate. Fusion pilots ignite. The invisible wall between intelligence and energy crumbles. The cloud finally touches the ground. The future is plugged in. What is the dark truth behind this event? Share your theory below and watch our next investigation. Welcome. Before we begin, hit subscribe so you don't miss our daily updates. Bell subscribe now before the next video. We have a special upload tomorrow. High voltage.